This is the Rebel Call Channel. Welcome to today's show. The EU and the US are announcing their 6G vision cooperation on AI at the TTC summit this week. And it's important to note because we know the next phase of this operation, really Agenda 2030, but this operation to create the next human involves 6G. And it's what's really sad about everything that's going on in the world when I reflect on it, and I see so many people affected by cancer, by depression, so many more people getting Alzheimer's, so many people trying to have children who can't have children. If they only knew that the large majority of these problems were all coming from those massive towers that continually pop up around us, but they refuse to believe it because, again, this is a perfect weapon for them to use because nobody can see it with their own eyes. They think that these towers are going up to make their internet connections faster, but ultimately these towers, again, are to connect human beings to the internet of bodies. And now we're headed towards 6G. But just imagine if we can get through to some of the people out there with just basic common sense, right? Because when we talk about the 5G towers, it's not like the government is coming out trying to tell us that the 5G towers are perfectly safe. The government doesn't want to get their hand even involved in telling us it's safe because the government knows that anybody out there could debunk the dangers of 5G. So the government just says, well, we don't know the long-term effects of 5G. We're too focused, again, on moving towards 6G without even knowing the effects of 5G. Every civilian out there should say, well, if you don't know the effects of 5G, you're telling us you don't know the effects. Scientists don't know the effects. It could do this. It couldn't do that. We don't know. Then why are we allowing you to put it up if it's going to have an effect on human beings? Now, we obviously all know the effects of it, and the government knows the effects of it. They just don't want to tell you until it's too late. And again, we look at the problems that have arose since the advent of the 5G towers, the rise in Alzheimer's. You hear about all the rises in these diseases, all these rises in mental health problems, Lou Gehrig's disease, sleep problems, cognitive impairment, Alzheimer's, brain tumors, rising cancers, of course, the cellular effects and the DNA damage being done to humans' bodies, leukemia, infertility. Nobody's suspicious at all about how men and women just can't seem to have kids anymore, that these people are doing IVF and nobody's going, why is everybody doing IVF? 25 years ago, no one even knew what it was. And it would have been like a last-ditch effort. Now everybody's in a last-ditch effort to have kids. Everybody out there knows people who are doing this, who are unable to have children, and no one's suspicious because of these towers, of course. And they don't want you to know about what these electromagnetic fields are doing to your body. Instead, they want you to just be distracted by their fake news and the propaganda they continually put out. And then when they try to debunk 5G, it's more of a refusal, because we know YouTube and a lot of these platforms have specific guidelines in place where if you talk about what just happened a few years ago and you say anything in regards to these towers, you'll immediately be silenced. Now, another thing people should ask is, who's given the government authority to put these up? If these things are supposed to help out, AT&T and Verizon, then why are these going up all over the place? Does Verizon have contracts on the highways around the country? Does Verizon have contracts with all these schoolyards and random locations, of course, that they're popping up behind buildings in the middle of fields? Do they have contracts? Are they go into the people's doors and say, hey, can we build one of our towers there? Oh, of course not. Of course not. Because again, the American corporation is being run by big tech, right? Big tech has their hand in all of it. That's why big tech is censoring everyone. And of course, we're talking about the physical, human, and digital realms being merged into one. So really what they're attempting to do here as AI at this meeting, again, is to push forward their 6G vision, which really has to do with the next human, like Nat Geo told us many years ago, right? Taking evolution into our own hands, creating new humans with tech. Of course, everyone's being eased into this. And when they hear people like me talk about it, they go, oh, this guy's crazy. What are they talking about? And then when it happens, they'll be like, oh, yeah, but it wasn't what he was talking about. I'm not becoming a cyborg. I'm still me, right? All of this hypnosis they've been putting into me about being self-empowered, being my own me. I'm not even going to realize what's being done to me because I'm my own me. Because everybody tells me I'm my own me. I'm my best me. I won't even realize that I'm not even me anymore. That's the irony of it all, right? And again, I've talked about this when we have them meeting talking about 6G. Remember the vision of what 6G really is. Remember at the World Economic Forum. Remember them talking about the next wave of 6G and the phones are gonna be inside your body.
Is the Matrix. Control. The Matrix is a computer-generated dream world built to keep us under control in order to change a human being into this.
Future, you will have such a good digital twin that you'll be able to go into the metaverse, into a virtual reality world, turn a dial, pull a switch, feel around, and actually change it in the real plant.
Absolutely. And this is not far off. I mean, the physical and the digital worlds, they will grow together, and the result is exactly what you just said.
I wanted to ask when you all think we're going to move from this form factor to something that's on your face, glasses, and when computing's all on the edge.
All right, 50 seconds. Who wants to answer quickly?
I think it will go. It will. First of all, it will definitely happen. I was talking about 6G earlier, which is around 2030. I would say that by then, definitely the smartphone as we know it today will not anymore be the usual kind of the most common interface. Wow. Many of these things will be built directly into our bodies.
6G will liberate human potential. It will transform the way we live, the way we work, connecting human worlds, physical worlds with digital worlds. And that will unleash new human possibilities.
Stunned by the sudden rollout of Rook Unlimited's most fantastic device ever, the Smart Mark. Because the Smart Mark is more than just a phone. It's part of you. Use it as cash and even shoot video. Distribution points are all over the city. The Rook Unlimited Smart Mark is worth the wait.
The Smart Mark has brought order to my life.
And the best part? It's absolutely free.
23% of the population has been given the Smart Mark, number one.
Time to test our system numbers. Put our new recruits to work. Subtly.
We should find the Flex Fighters.
I ought to find the Flex Fighters.
We should find the Flex Fighters.
You call yourself a man of science. World order is our destiny. Submit to a Smart Mark and join the glorious victory of order over chaos.
People think Smart Marks are brand new Rook tech that will improve their lives.
But your chip makes it possible to control everyone in Charter City, whether they're marked or not.
And of course, when this technology is inside of your body, you will then be a controllable, hackable human being. So let's read about this meeting that is taking place. It is likely to be the last TTC. The forum might not survive leadership changes following elections on both sides of the Atlantic this year, but the EU and the US will announce a shared vision on 6G, as well as further cooperation on AI and semiconductors during a trade and technology council taking place in Belgium this week. The EU and the US share the belief that advanced connectivity can foster a more inclusive, sustainable, and secure global economy. Of course, this has everything to do with a global currency. Okay, it has nothing to do with being inclusive. The only thing that's going to be inclusive is that we'll all be inclusive slaves. That's it. And when they use words like that, everybody out there thinks of themselves and they're like, well, you know, I'm being oppressed and I'm, you know, I wasn't able to get this job because my skin color, et cetera, as well with this new, they don't even know what these people are telling them right to their faces because they immediately just hear stuff like, oh, I'm more inclusive. That means I'm going to be included. You don't want to be included in this, okay? You want to be included in slavery? Were people lining up in the images that we used to see of, you know, enslavement camps and all this? Were they lining up to get in? No, in most cases they weren't. And some of them they were because they were staged photos, but I won't get into that. That'll be for the website. But think about that, right? Nobody's even wondered about how we've gone from 4 to 5G. Nobody's looked around and seen any difference in their cell phone at all. Nobody's like, oh man, everything's so much quicker, it's instant. No, of course not. But what we have seen, of course, is a rise in disease, a rise in mental health problems. We see people who are unhinged. And nobody knows the effects, of course, that this radiation exposure is having on them because they can't see it with their own eyes. And again, when you get people so obsessed with the technology, they'll hear someone like me talking about this and they'll refuse to listen to it because, again, they're obsessed with their tech. It's an addiction. It's an addiction that they don't talk about. They talk about drugs, they talk about fentanyl, they talk about alcohol. They never talk about tech. Tech is the most wicked addiction out there. People are so obsessed with it, they can't remove themselves from it. And again, when you become dependent on the tech, you'll refuse to realize that the long-term effects of your health while you're still human are literally death, right? Until, of course, you morph into something else when your DNA starts to change. And we know that the effects of this, the EMF effects, etc., from these cell towers are causing severe DNA damage. And of course, they'll swoop in and they'll tell everybody, well, with 6G, you won't get sick anymore. With 6G, you won't have this. Now, for people out there that wonder, they're like, well, if all these towers are so bad for that, what about the people putting them in? Well, you don't think that those people take things to, suppress it? You don't think those people take actual potions that work? You don't think they take pills to make sure that they don't get affected by radiation? I mean, there's pills for radiation exposure. Of course, we know some of them that are over the counter that you can still get that I talk about over on the website, which you can't talk about here because that's considered pushing some type of miracle cure and you get taken down. So I won't say it over here on YouTube, but I'll talk about it on the website, right? So again, and another thing I covered with 6G in regards to what they're trying to push is the effects you're going to see, right? Remember, the effects you're going to see with 6G versus 5G. They're like, well, not many people notice with 5G. You'll notice with 6G, right? Well, you'll notice because you'll be connected to the internet. But the third 6G breakthrough may hold, and this is from an article I read recently about this, may hold the potential to be a big thing. It would be effectively giving a sensing capability to base stations and user devices, enabling radio signals to feel out the size and shape of any unconnected object, even figure out what it's made of. There are sinister military applications, but sensing could be used in healthcare to ping medical staff if someone vulnerable, the object is in this case, falls in and is inserted in their home. So in other words, these things are going to be able to monitor and track everything inside of your body. Your body is going to have this nanotechnology inserted in it. Some people already do. We obviously all know that. Okay. And eventually, of course, it's about you connecting to the internet with 6G technology. So the US and the EU are meeting and they say we concur on shared principles for the research and development of 6G wireless communication systems, and we recognize that by working together, we can support the development of technologies and global technical standards for tomorrow's critical digital infrastructure that reflect shared principles and values. And nobody knows what that means. They're just like, oh, okay, I guess, they're working to our benefit. Now we can look at all these politicians and we all realize they're not working to our benefit. But again, people are too distracted. They're too entertained 24/7 to pay attention to what these people and their behavior is showing us. But on top of that, when we hear them saying like, hey, the research and development of 6G, nobody's going, hey, what about 5G? What were really the benefits of it? And can you guarantee us that our health and safety is okay? And they go, no, we can't, because we don't really know the long-term effects yet. Of course, until 1/3 of the population is gone, and we blame it on the climate or we blame it on depression, and we don't blame all these mental health problems on these huge towers that we're allowing to go up. I mean, it's pretty incredible when you come out, and you go into a conscious state of mind. Go drive around and look at how many of these towers have popped up over the last 3-4 years. I mean, it's incredible. You won't find, 200, 300, you won't get 2 miles apart from seeing these towers blinking. Go down a highway, just a main highway around you. Okay? You can go down side. I mean, these things are sitting in people's backyards. And I guarantee you, most of these people didn't give the authority to put these things in their backyard. But the government has this spaced out so that it affects everyone. So they don't care if they're going on your property and doing it. Because again, you don't really own your property. The government does. And we've allowed it to get to this point. So they're not only going to meet about safety of 6G. And of course, they'll just tell us, well, it's safe. We're going to have regular discussions, they say, about cooperation between the US and the EU about safety, as well as how we can make AI better, right? And nobody goes, whoa, we don't need AI, do we? I mean, AI is affecting people's livelihoods. AI is affecting people's mental health. AI is causing a lot of fraud and scam with deep fakes and everything else. More negatives than positives. But they tell you, well, there's a lot of scary things about AI, but we have to go forward with it because of the positives. And nobody knows what the positives are. The positives are they just go, there's positives. That's it. If we sat there and weighed the pros and cons, and then we looked at all the people who are creating this type of tech unregulated, right? And then we look at a background check on these people would be arrested on the spot for doing these illegal activities. But again, they want you to think that these are scientists who are smarter than us, and nobody thinks about the character behind these people who are doing this stuff. These are the same people censoring all of us. These are the same people who are enslaving all of us with the tech, and they have wicked intentions. And of course, those of us who are aware know what these intentions are. To change and alter what a human being is. So they're moving forward with their 6G initiative. Of course they are. The EU and the US banding together in the name of diversity and equity, because it's all about diversity and equity, right? And then everybody walks around, the Republicans go, these libs are obsessed with diversity and equity. They don't even realize what they're talking about. They're talking about equal slaves. They're talking about a new breed and a new race of human beings, and everybody's looking in the wrong direction as they're attempting to literally take, as they told you in these clips, the physical, the human, and the digital realm and merge it into one, okay? And this has to do with the spiritual realm and your body becoming a vessel for these demonic entities. Remember the videos I did on quantum computing, which are available on the website? Okay, talking about these little demons. They call them little chips, right? And everyone's like, oh, it's a chip. It's like a potato chip. It's like a crumb. They don't know what it is. I'm not smart enough to realize it, right? But you are smart enough to realize it because this is a spiritual war. This stuff that they're using, it all has to do, they tell you it's science, it all has to do with magic and witchcraft and sorcery. And this is going on right in front of us. And now they're at the point where they've used the last 20 years to get everybody so obsessed with tech, so dependent on tech, that they're literally about to usher out technology going inside of human beings' bodies and changing humans from being actual humans into being actual cyborgs, in a sense, who will no longer be human. Thus, they will no longer be God's creation. They'll be the creation of the devil. They'll be an earthly creation. And we have to stop these wicked people from continuing forward with these wicked plans, because human beings are going to be completely hackable. As you've seen in my previous videos, they're going to be completely molded and manipulated into an army. And again, this is the army that we hear in the book of Revelation. All of the things going on around us are prophesized in the Bible. All of the stuff we're dealing with right now is the spiritual war that the Bible forewarned us about. Just nobody sees it in front of them. This is what's going on. In no way, shape, or form should government officials be meeting about something in regards to cell phones and technology. Of course, people out there don't think. They don't think for 1 second. They don't go, wait a minute, our job is, these politicians are supposed to be passing policy, infrastructure, fixing our roads. What do they care about AT&T and Verizon and technology? And why do they want us to do everything online so much so? And why is everybody dealing with all these side effects that nobody knows what it's really from? And, they blame it on the common cough thing that happened a few years ago, and they don't realize these towers around them are making them sick. Well, guess what? The government's not working for you. In fact, the government is looking to take over and hack you. And that's what we're headed towards. I thank you for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you as always, and your families.